Oi. Hi, Stefan. How are you?
Very happy to be here. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
thank you very much. I've been doing good, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interview you, Stefan. And friends, here is Stefan Gonick, and let me tell about him a lot. Like Stefan Gonick is one of the international EFT expert and soulmate attraction mentor. Show smart, loving singles who are struggling to find their soulmate, how to finally attract the spine tingling and lasting love they long for, even when they think it's not possible for them. That's interesting. And Stephen has been helping individuals and couples with their relationship issues for over 26 years. Stephen has helped thousands of people across the world have the life and love they most desire. And friends, here is Stephen for us. He is the founder of Soulmate Attraction Academy. He's a Soulmate Attraction mentor. So we will listen more about Stephen from his own words. So, Stephen, what got you into EFT?
Well, so what got me into EFT was that before I ever learned EFT, before I'd ever even heard of it, I had done a lot of therapy. I did 14 years of therapy with a
Oh my
therapist,
God. Okay.
starting when I was 26, actually, with him. And he used a technique called Gestalt therapy,
Mhm.
which is actually uncommon on the East Coast of the United States where I live, but it was very common in California, where I originally came from. And Gestalt therapy was this very experiential therapy, very cathartic, very dynamic. And it really helped me a lot. It was much better than just kind of traditional talk therapy. We just spend all your time talking about your problems. It was much more, like I said, experiential and alive. So I decided to become, help people in the same way and learn Gestalt therapy. So I did
Okay.
5 years of intensive training in Gestalt therapy.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, like 3 hours a week, 9 months a year for 5 years. I did a ton of training in that. And then that's what I used for several years with my clients. And, I was, on the one hand, I was proud that it was more effective than talk therapy. On the other hand, the time frame was still pretty slow. Depending on the issues I was trying to help someone with, it would take anywhere from months to years for them to be successful. If it was a major life issue, it would take years. If it was smaller things, we'd be done in some months. And I was just kind of frustrated that this was as slow as it was. And when I first started, I just accepted therapy is just a slow, gradual thing, and that's just the way it is. That's how people change. But then I started feeling unsatisfied with that. And I started reading about other techniques. And then I actually tried a different technique before EFT that was called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. People know that as EMDR,
Yeah.
which is supposed to be this amazing breakthrough therapy that was like really fast. Excuse me. And so I got a whole bunch of training in that, and I started using that with my clients. And half the time it worked really well. It was like, wow, that was great, right? And the other half of the time, we would kind of process for a while, and a lot of stuff seemed to happen, but it was very unclear where we ended up. It was like, I don't know where we are now, but stuff seemed to have happened,
Okay.
And so it's like, all right, this gave me a taste
Yeah.
of one of these like radical fast methods, but I wasn't satisfied with it. And then I finally got exposed to EFT through Gary Craig, the founder of EFT. And so I learned how to do that, and I tried it, and I immediately had really wonderful, very fast, and very consistent results. So instead of 50% success,
Yeah.
I was up in, well, after years of doing EFT, I'm now in the 99%, kind of success rate with EFT. So I love it. Though I now supplement, EFT is my main thrust, but even EFT is not comprehensive. It doesn't provide everything a person needs. So I actually ended up, after I dropped Gestalt therapy for a long time in favor of EFT, I realized that Gestalt therapy actually had this one super important empowerment process that I can bring to EFT to address this thing that's not covered by EFT. Because so many times we feel so disempowered or powerless in our emotional wounds, and EFT cannot address that part, whereas this sort of Gestalt piece can. And so now I do this sort of combination thing that's
The
even
beauty of
extra
EFT
powerful.
is combining with different modalities, it becomes easier.
Yeah, well, even just a lot more effective too.
Yes.
It's always fast, but it's not, it doesn't always cover everything that's needed.
True.
And I find for helping people break out of their unhealthy love patterns, the empowerment piece is critically important. So like I've had a lot of people come to me after they've already worked with other EFT practitioners trying to help them with their love life and still not succeeding.
Succeeding.
Then we'll do it in the way that I do it, which we can talk about later.
Yeah.
And then it finally works.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that's how you got into EFT.
Yes.
A frustrated Gestalt therapist searching for something else and wanted fast and effective way, right? And as you are, you know, uh, expert in the field of the soulmates, you help people. So first, before getting into that portion, there are various definitions for soulmate, Stephen. There are
Sure.
fantasies, there are various definitions, but who is a soulmate according to you?
All right. So yes, there's many different definitions for soulmates, and some, also say, well, you need to distinguish between what's a soulmate and what's a quote twin flame. And
Yeah.
Now, in my particular case, I actually use the word soulmate relatively casually, rather than trying to get one of these very spiritual definitions or something like that. I just use the word to mean some, well, first of all, a lot of people's definitions, there's only one soulmate for a person. So I'm not talking about something so restrictive. What I really mean by soulmate is sort of like what kind of person would be your ideal partner? If you were to imagine everything you're looking for in a partner, and you're writing it all down, right? In fact, I call that creating your partner vision. Where you're writing down all the things you're looking for in a partner. If you were to meet somebody who had all those things, plus they're really into you and you're into them, then that would be one of your ideal partners. And we can have more than one ideal type partner. So rather than calling it your ideal type partner, I just use the word soulmate because it's a very nice word. So I like using it for that.
Nice. And Stephen, what inspired you to establish this Soulmate Attraction Academy?
Well, probably the typical reason that most people get passionately started on any endeavor, and that's because, in my case, in a word, my love life sucked.
Okay.
It was horrible throughout my 20s. And in fact, I'll never forget this one, the moment that sort of changed everything for me. I was 28 years old. I had just ended the worst relationship of my life. I'd been having a relationship since I was 17. So I had a series of them. And the one I just ended was like far and away the worst one. And I was in my bedroom just sitting there thinking, why does this keep happening to me? And it was in that moment, as I was kind of soul searching, that I had a breakthrough awareness that made me realize actually how horrible my love life was. And so that day, I actually felt the sense of total doom and despair. Like, that's it. It's hopeless for me. I'm never going to be able to have what I want. But then the next day, I woke up feeling super determined. It's like, all right, no, that is not acceptable. This cannot be the end of my story, right?
Yes.
And that's when I contacted that Gestalt therapist I ended up working with for 14 years. And I saw him and I said, I am willing to do whatever it takes to clear all these blocks and patterns because I really want to be with my soulmate. I want to find the love of my life and get married and all that. So I was like super motivated. And he said, all right, great, let's do it. So he helped me a lot. By the time he and I were done, I still wasn't finished, but he was the one who kind of got me on the path. And I did a ton of work with him, started reading all his books. And in fact, that's what actually inspired me to ultimately help other people myself, because as I was getting all this help and I was saw him one-on-one, and I saw him and I also was in a therapy group where we would help each other. And I started enjoying that part, like, it's actually kind of very gratifying to be helpful to other members of my group. And then I joined this peer counseling thing where we counsel each other.
Okay.
It's like, wow, I really like this too. And that's when I started thinking, it's like, maybe this is what I'd like to do as a life career. And then that's when I started getting all my training and stuff like that. But that's what started for me, is like this, I was having a horrible love life myself. So that became my multi-decade healing journey for myself, which has helped me understand at a very deep level the struggles that everybody else is going through in their own search for love. And I finally succeeded. And that's one of the things that makes me so passionate about helping other people clear their blocks so they can find and be with their soulmates.
Excellent. So that led to the establishment of the Soulmate Attraction Academy. Wonderful.
That's right.
Okay, so let us now get into the most interesting part, where, what is the biggest block in a person's life from which stops from finding their soulmate? So what is your advice for the singles, Stephen?
All right. So I'm going to actually, rather than answer that question, I'm going to lead people through an exercise so that they can viscerally feel the answer, and then we'll talk about it. Now, this exercise, by the way, is appropriate. I mean, it's going to sound like it's much more oriented towards singles, but it's actually also appropriate for people in a relationship, including being married. So if whoever's listening, if you're listening and you are already in a relationship or married, hang in there, because you're going to find out how this applies to you as well. But in the beginning, I'm going to be talking about single people. So what I'd like everybody who's listening to do is I'd like you all to take a moment and close your eyes and think about the two worst traits of both parents, assuming you grew up with two parents. If you just have one parent, then that one parent. Just think about some of the worst things you had to deal with in their personality. And while you're thinking about that, I'll just give you some common examples so they'll help you understand what I'm referring to. So one common example is an emotionally unavailable or distant parent. That one's sadly very common. Another one would be a parent who blows up in anger easily. So these are all things that caused you pain growing up, right? So emotionally distant, blow up in anger, very critical and judgmental. Let's see, needy. Sometimes we have these needy parents where we feel like we have to take care of the parent instead of being taken care of. What's another common example? Oh, controlling, right? Somebody's that kind of thing. So a parent is like much more controlling than a parent needs to be. You know, like a very authoritarian, do what I say because I'm your parent, kind of thing. So just think about, so those are common examples. There are others, but these cover the most common cases. And just think about the two worst ones you grew up with. And it could be either gender parent. It doesn't have to be the opposite gender. And this also applies if you're straight or gay. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully you've thought of at least two of these negative traits of your parents that was painful to grow up with. Now, if you've had relationships in your life, if you have not had any, I'll talk about that in a moment. But if you've had relationships in your life, what I'd like you to do is think about the most recent serious relationship. And as you think about that person, notice whether or not that person shared one or more of your parents' worst traits. Just take a moment to notice that one way or the other. And then once you've done that, think about your second to last significant relationship and see if that person shares either of your parents' worst, most painful traits. And now think of the third back. So we'll do three. So Last three. See if that person had any of the negative traits of your parents. So now, if you're like most of us, the answer is, oh my God, yes. They had, all of them had at least one of those traits, maybe both of them. No matter how different they were as individuals in a lot of ways, the common theme was that they all shared this really painful trait from my parent or parents.
Okay, that's interesting.
So what's going on here? Now, if you haven't had any relationship at all, like I said, I'm going to come back to that. But for those of you who've had some series of relationships, you will probably notice you have this pattern. The one exception to this is to do the extreme opposite. So I'll give you an example. Somebody grew up with a really angry parent. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll hate it so much that we'll vow to be with somebody who's the opposite of that, right? So this kind of angry, dominating parent. So I will then get involved with very quiet, mild, non-powerful partners. So it's the opposite of my parents' negative trait. But the extreme opposite is not healthy either, right?
Okay.
So what's going on here is that as we're growing up as a child, we subconsciously form an image of our adult romantic partners based on the strongest traits of our parents.
Oh,
okay. Both good and bad, just the strongest traits, right? So we're going to be attracted to people with the best traits of our parents and the worst traits of our parents, whichever traits we felt the most impacted by positively and negatively. Now, for the positive traits, that's not a problem, right? Because those are positive traits. So I'll give an example. Let's say, here's a sadly common example. Let's say a girl had a father who was very smart and funny and playful, all positive traits, and emotionally disconnected, right? Emotionally distant, emotionally unavailable. So what's going to happen is this woman, and I'm just using that example. Remember, it could be either gender, it doesn't matter. This woman is likely to be powerfully, subconsciously attracted to people, men or women if she's lesbian, who are smart, funny, playful, fine, but also emotionally distant and disconnected. This is how it works for all of us. So what happens is that this is a very powerful, subtle attraction where people with the worst traits of our parents subconsciously become the sexiest people on the planet for you. So I'll give you an example from my own therapy. Because my therapist explained this to me in the very first session. And he characterized my pattern for me even better than I understood it. So I said to him, I was like, wow, this is so helpful, right? So I know what I need to do. Usually I would get involved with women very quickly. So what I need to do is slow things down, spend more time to get to know her. Like instead of get involved with her within a few days of spending time together, it's like, let's take a month, right? Spend time, get to know her. And then if I discover she's one of those kind of women, in my case, it was women with a victim mentality, then I can not get involved with her. And he said, well, it's a nice idea. Unfortunately, it doesn't work because what's happening without your awareness is that you are picking up on subtle cues from all the way across the room in the first 5 seconds.
Oh, okay.
That the woman has a victim mentality, that she's part of your pattern. And that's the very thing that's attracting you to her and making you want to go talk to her. So it's not that you need more time to get to know her so you can avoid being with women like that. Is that you are picking up on it instantly that she's like that. And that's what's drawing you to her. Okay.
Interesting.
Now, the other problem, though, is that if a person is missing those negative traits, let's say they have all the positive traits of my parents, but none of the negative ones. That will put you in a really weird situation where you'll meet this person. I actually have a video about this called "He's Great, but I'm Just Not Attracted to Him," where you'll meet this again. This applies to men and women, by the way, but I tend to work with more women. I have talked to many women that'll describe this friend of theirs and say, I know this man and he's so great. And he's good looking, right? It's not that he's great, but unattractive. He's a good looking guy. He's got a great personality. In fact, he's pretty much got everything I'm looking for in a partner, but I'm just not physically attracted to him. I just don't feel any chemistry with him. And I would love to date him. I wish I could date him, but I can't force myself to feel chemistry towards him. And this is, so the corollary is that if somebody doesn't have the negative trait or traits, then they're just not sexy to us. We can't go there. So it's so frustrating. Now, if you heal all this, let's say you have a friend like that, right? And you heal all this. Once you heal it, you'll kind of look at the guy and you go, well, there's something different about you. Did you work out? Because all of a sudden I'm finding you a lot more attractive.
Something changed
No,
here.
actually I gained 10 pounds. I didn't work out. So, you know, it's the block from this negative attraction pattern that is, or, you know, it's the unhealed wound that's caused the negative attraction pattern that is preventing her from being attracted to this great guy. But then it gets even more subtle and insidious than this. And this is what's going to apply now for your future relationship, or if you're already in one, whether it's a regular relationship or a marriage. And what I'm about to describe to you is one of the biggest sources of pain and problems in a relationship. So I already said that we're attracted to people with the worst negative trait of our parents. Sometimes the person we're attracted to has the same trait, but even worse than our parents did, right? Sometimes they have it about the same level as our parents. Sometimes they have a lot milder version of it. Like, let's say our parent was a 8 out of 10, and we're attracted to somebody that's like a 4 out of 10. They're like half as bad. Okay. Now, the thing I'm going to describe is good to apply, even if you somehow manage to dodge the bullet and find somebody and get together with somebody who doesn't have that negative trait at all. I'm going to describe how, due to our super sensitivity to anything that reminds us of our negative trait and all the pain that we experience from that negative trait, which then makes us very overreactive, we can then unintentionally behave in ways that push our partner into behaving more like that negative trait, even to the extreme example of our partner not having that trait to begin with, and then becoming just as bad as the parent was.
Oh my God.
So and this is the thing that causes great pain in our relationships. So I can give you an example. So going back to the very common case of emotionally unavailable father with his daughter, say. So let's say there's a woman, who grew up in that environment. And for whatever reason, she manages to find a guy who's not like that. He's super loving and emotionally connected. And the beginning, it feels great. Now, we all have two very natural needs in a relationship. That's a need for together time and a need for separate time, right? That's normal. We want to spend time with our partner. We want to spend time on our own. And for the sake of this example, we're going to say that the ratio of together time and separate time matches, right? We're going to make this as perfect as we can. We're going to only have one thing that doesn't match, and that is that the timing may not always match, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So there may be times when he wants to get together with her and she wants to be separate. If that happens, no problem. It doesn't trigger her at all. But then let's look at the case where she wants to see him and he wants to be separate. So let's paint a scenario. Let's say it's a Friday, they're talking on the phone, and she goes, hey, so, tomorrow's supposed to be a good day. Why don't we spend the day together tomorrow? And he says, there's this project I've been really wanting to do for a long time, and I've made plans to work on that project tomorrow.
Yes.
Now, if she didn't have this unavailable father issue, she had many experiences of her father being unavailable to her, which made her overly sensitive to anything that reminds her of that and very overreactive, right? If she didn't have that, she'd be a little disappointed, but fine. Okay, great. Sure, we'll get together later. But because of the oversensitivity and overreactivity, that's going to remind her of her father's unavailability, even though his reason was perfectly legitimate. And she's going to overreact to it in one of two ways. She's either going to get a little clingy, like, oh, come on, can't you do that project another day? You like hiking, right? How about if we go hiking? We'll do something that you really like to do. Can't we be together? And that's going to feel bad to him, right? It's like, or she might get a little angry. It's like, oh, so you're going to do a project? Okay, fine, do your damn project.
Yeah. You don't care about me or this.
Yeah, you care about your project more than me or whatever.
Yeah.
So whichever way she reacts, it's going to be negative and it's going to feel bad to him. Now, he may either give in and go, okay, fine, well, let's spend Saturday together, and then kind of resent her, right? Or he'll stick to his guns and go, sorry, I really want to do that project. Look, I really care about you. The project's not more important than you. You know, I've been putting it off for a while. I really want to do it today. You know, today is the day I went, but I love you. You're great. You know, let's get together Sunday, you know. So he'll either put a lot of energy into reassuring her, but still doing what he wants, or he'll give in. Now, the next time he sees her, he has a little bit of a bad taste in his mouth, right? That was not fun.
Yes,
It was a
yes.
little bit bad experience. So, of course, that's going to make him be a little bit reserved. He's going to show up. He's not be quite as happy and expressive and loving. He's going to be just a little reserved. Now, if that was okay with her, his reserve is okay with her, and they just started spending some time together, his reserve would melt away and he'd be back to being this really loving guy. But she's super sensitive to anything that reminds her of her unavailable dad, so she's picking up on this little reserve. He may not even be aware that he's being a little reserved, but she's going to start grilling him. She goes, hey, what's wrong? What's wrong? You seem different. And he's going to go, I don't know, nothing. He goes,
Yeah.
no, I can tell there's something wrong. I can tell there's something wrong. I really need you to tell me what's wrong because it feels bad. He's like, I don't know. I'm fine, really, I'm fine, right? So, and again, that's not going to feel good to him, right?
Yes.
So what's going to happen is, you know, as this progresses, she's going to, you know, he's going to start feeling worse and worse. She's going to get more and more triggered till she starts starting fights out of the blue. And she's going to basically start pushing him more and more away until finally he's now become this very distant, reserved, unavailable guy. And she's going to go to her best girlfriend and go, God, you know, when I met John, I thought I had finally found the one because he was nothing like any of my old boyfriends. He was so loving and emotionally connected, not at all like these past boyfriends. But here we are 6 months later, and it turns out he's just like all the rest of them.
Oh my God. Okay.
Right?
Wow.
Not realizing her contribution to the situation, that she was unintentionally, without even being aware of it, pushing him into behaving like her dad, making him be more unavailable. This is one of the things that really causes problems in relationships and marriages, because we're all doing this. And by the way, the example of emotional unavailable is just the very easiest one to talk about, but this is true for all the other examples. So let's say you had a explosive, angrily explosive parent. Well, we're going to be super sensitive to that. I actually had a girlfriend like that once, where she had a father like that, and she was so super sensitive that if I raised my voice just a little bit, you know, like we're discussing, I'm just starting to get a little frustrated, but I'm not angry at all yet. And my voice has just come just one small notch. She would go, oh, okay, that's it. You're angry. You know, you're angry at me. All I can hear is you're angry. I can't hear a word you're saying anymore. And it's like, I'm not angry yet. And, you know, I was up like one minor notch in the volume, but now it's like, this is getting frustrating because like, you're telling me that you can't hear what I'm saying. So like, okay, taking a breath. Okay, I'm relaxing. Okay, can we talk now? No. You know, I just can't. And it would get more and more frustrating, right? Now, I never did go to the point of getting really angry, but I was getting more and more frustrated in this situation. So it was like bringing out my frustration, even though I'm not an angry guy. I almost never yell in a relationship. I might yell once every couple of years, you know? So we can do that with any negative trait. Angry parent, we can push our partner to get angrier. Critical and judgmental parent, we can push our partner to become even more critical and judgmental of us. Any of these traits. So this is a really challenging situation that is part of the human condition. We all have to deal with this, either in the partners we pick or how we are in the relationship. So it's until we address this kind of thing, things are kind of doomed, right? It's like, it's very hard to have a good, healthy, happy relationship as long as this is going on. And if you look at marriage statistics in the United States, that's pretty consistent, right? Because I don't know what the statistics are in other countries, but in the United States, half of all marriages end in divorce. So half of marriages are unhappy right there, but the other half that stay together, half of them are staying together unhappily. So it's becomes 75% of marriages are unhappy, right?
Oh.
Only 25% of them are happy. So it is way more common. And then there's all the people who never get married, never have a happy relationship. So it's even 75% is really an underestimate. So if you think about it, probably at the very least, 80% of people never have a happy, successful love life. And probably only 20% or even less do have a happy love life. Now, to me, when I first understood those percentages, it felt very validating with my own struggles. Like, wow, look at what high a percentage of people struggle like me. So it's like, okay, I'm not alone in this. There's most of us struggle like this. The 20 to 25% statistic, though, was encouraging because it wasn't like 3% or 5%, where it's like this really rare little tiny subgroup. It's like 20 to 25%. It's like, okay, that means it's doable. So then the question is, okay, how do I get from the 75% group to the 25% group, or the 80 to the 20, whatever it is? And this is what it takes, is we need to address this negative attraction pattern where we're being attracted to basically the wrong people, the people with the worst negative traits of our parents.
I think, Stephen, this is the first time a person can understand, because, repetitive patterns, yes, most of us observe, but some are aware, some observe, but the question mark is, how do I break the pattern? This is amazing. Like, you have revealed the complete anatomy of repetitive patterns, and that was excellent, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some people are not aware they're in a pattern. And there's a lot of people, though, I think, who are aware that they're having these bad experiences over and over again. And then there's the ones who are aware that not only having bad experiences over and over again, but there's a theme, right? That's the point where you start to realize there's something to be done, right? If you just have bad experiences, they all seem random, then you just feel unlucky, right? God, why am I so unlucky? But if you notice there's a theme, then it's like, okay, this pattern then must be within me. It's not about them so much. It's about it's my pattern, right? It's my pattern. And then that's the most empowering realization. That's the thing I realized when I was 28, is I noticed for the first time the common theme of all my girlfriends. It's like, oh. So how do you break out of this? So the way you break out of it, the cool thing is it doesn't take very long, but it has to be done in a particular way. So what you need to do per negative trait. So let's say the trait is angry parent, right? We had this explosively angry parent, and our pattern is to be attracted to really angry partners. That's not a happy situation, so we want to break out of that pattern. So the way you do that is you need to heal 3 or 4 representative memories of your father blowing up in anger when you were a young child. Mm-hmm. So only 3 or 4. It doesn't take a lot. That's the thing that's so amazing, is you have to heal 3 or 4 representative memories to completely break out of that pattern and no longer be attracted to people with that negative trait. Now, if you're attracted to people with more than one negative trait, let's say there's 2 of them, then you have to do 3 or 4 memories per negative trait, right? But still, it's very quick, 3 or 4 memories per negative trait. But then the question is how do you heal those memories? Because regular EFT is not sufficient for that. So here's the thing. There are 3 ways that a painful experience of our parents' negative trait affects us, and we have to address all 3 of those things. And regular EFT addresses just one of the 3. This is why I see lots of people who worked with another EFT practitioner before. So I'm going to first describe the 3 ways that get impacted, and so you'll understand better. So the example we're going to use is his father, who's both angry and critical at the same time. So he blows up in anger, and not only does he yell at the kid, he also puts him down in this really mean, judgmental way. He'll say things, "What's the matter with you? You stupid! You can't do anything right!" Right, like that. So it's like I'm being yelled at. So the first impact of being yelled at in this painful way is the most obvious one, which is I feel painful feelings in response to this, right? I might feel scared and intimidated by his anger. I might feel very hurt by what he's saying. I might start feeling bad things about myself, like, yeah, I can't do anything right. I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. So there's the negative emotions we feel and these negative beliefs that we start to take on, right? So that's the immediate impact. And regular tapping will help with that, right? The way you heal a memory in regular tapping is you basically just relive the memory, feeling all your feelings, and you just tap on those feelings until they're gone. Once you've released all the feelings that you're in touch with, you consider the memory healed. And you're done. There's nothing more you can do with regular EFT. And it does successfully address this first part. But now let's start talking about the second and third parts. The second part, which regular EFT does not touch at all, is that when we get treated in this negative way over and over again, which of course it will happen many times because it's the parent's negative trait. Like if my dad blows up in anger, he's going to do it hundreds of times, not just once, right? So because he's doing this to me many times, no matter how much I hate that he's doing it, no matter how much I mentally realize it's bad that he's doing this, because it started young and happened many times, subconsciously, I come to believe that I deserve to be treated this way.
Oh.
Okay? In a very disempowering kind of experience. So what happens is then as an adult, I become overly tolerant of somebody treating me that way as an adult. Sometimes so overly tolerant, I don't even notice that I'm being treated in a bad way. Because it just feels so normal to me. Also, anytime anybody does something that just even slightly reminds me of when I was treated that way, I will immediately go back to feeling that same sense of powerlessness as I felt in the original memory when I was, say, 5, right? So here I'm a grown adult, but now I feel just as powerless as I did when I was 5. So like I said, regular EFT doesn't address that. So this is where I use my Gestalt technique to help empower our inner child to stand up for her or himself relative to our internal parent in this really powerful way to basically declare that, no, I don't deserve to be treated this way. So it breaks us out of this deep belief that we deserve to be treated in this negative, bad way. And it helps us reclaim a sense of personal power by standing up for ourselves, being assertive and having a boundary. So that's the second part. And the third part is the following. We all, as when we're little kids, we all desperately want to be loved by both parents, even if one of our parents or both of our parents are abusive, right? In the beginning, we just blindly want to be loved by both parents. As we get older, we may eventually give up on trying to get a certain parent's love if they're consistently negative all the time. But in the beginning, we don't. We desperately want their love. So when a parent is doing their negative trait on us, we're getting this painful experience and we desperately want to get the parent's love. So we will, as a little kid, we will do whatever we can to try and get that parent's love, but we can never succeed because the parent is not in a loving place while they're doing that behavior. But our inner child will get stuck there in this unrequited, unsatisfied, unfulfilled longing to win the parent's love, and we will carry that forward into adulthood. So this is what happens. Because we are subconsciously attracted to somebody with the same negative trait with our parent, our inner child will go, oh, there's my dad. Now I'll finally try and see if I can get his love now, right? So we get into this weird situation where the worse they treat us, the more hooked we get. It's easier to see in a friend. I'm sure we've all had experiences with a friend where so let's say we have a girlfriend and she's in this bad relationship with some guy, and she'll be unhappy for a long time, and then she'll be talking to us about thinking of leaving him, right? It's like, yeah, things have been going badly for a long time. I think maybe I should leave him. And we'll be going like, yeah, I really think you should leave him. She goes, yeah, but I love him, but I'm not happy. I should leave him, but I love him. And it'll be obvious that they're kind of on the fence and stuff like that. And then a week later, they'll come back to us and they'll be super upset. Oh man, he did that thing he does again, to me again. Whatever that negative trait thing was, right? He did it again. I'm so upset. And then you go think, oh, well, here's a good time to encourage her to get out. It's like, oh man, that's terrible they did that. Maybe now's the time you should get out. And what you'll discover is instead of going, yeah, you're right. That's it. That's the final straw. I should get out now. What you'll see is that she's even more hooked by him. It's now actually harder for her to get out. So before she sounded like she was on the fence, but now she's not even on the fence anymore. She's totally in. So it's that inner child desperate longing to finally win her parents' love that she couldn't get originally. And that's what hooks the person. So we need to address that third part as well. And we do that by working with the internalized parent. So when you have a painful experience when you're young, this is something we all do. It's not EFT, it's just psychology. We do this thing called internalization, where we create an internal copy of our parent in this painful memory, right? And it's one of these bad news, good news situations. So let's say we're 5 years old and that, my dad was yelling at me in this painful way. So I create this internal copy of my dad that lives inside of me. And the bad news is that this internal copy of my dad looks and acts just like my real dad did when I was 5. The even worse news, though, is that he continues to live on inside of me and continues to mistreat my inner child in the same way as what happened in that memory. It's a sort of endless loop. And that's what keeps the issue alive. Otherwise, it'd just be this old painful memory. The fact that it's still going on in the background is what keeps the issue going. It's responsible for all this negative self-talk we hear in our head. We think that's us, but it's really our internalized parent, negative parent, doing it. So the third part of the process that I do with people is we use EFT to help heal and transform our internal parent in a way that our real parent maybe never would not be able to do or even interested in doing. But because our internal parent is a part of us, we can do it. We heal and transform our internal parent into a loving internal parent who's then able to finally give the love that was missing to our inner child, which is what provides final resolution and closure. It's like our inner child is finally satisfied. It's like, oh, I finally got my parents' love. I don't have to keep trying to get it anymore. I don't have to keep seeking it from other people. I feel complete now. I'm done. So if you do this 3-step process using just 3 or 4, representative memories of our parent acting out their negative trait on us, it'll completely, heal us of this pattern. And the way I do it with my clients, so we know when they're done, is how we know when they've successfully broken out of that pattern, is in the first session, I'll say, do you have somebody in your current or past in your life who fits your negative pattern, that your mind says, it'd be horrible, it'd be really bad to be with this person, but you have this uncontrollable gut level attraction to him or her, right? So I call this the reference person. This person represents the pattern.
Okay.
And so I'll say, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, leaving your mind out of it, just your gut level attraction is what? 0 to 10. And I'm hoping to hear a number like 8, 9, or 10, like really high. Because that means that person is like a really good example of your negative attraction pattern, right? So then we'll heal the first memory. And then I'll say, okay, now how attracted do you feel this person in your gut? Okay. And I go, it's not as high as it was before. It's about a 7 now instead of a 10. But, all right, progress. So then we'll heal the second memory. Okay, now what is it? Oh, wow, it's like a 4 now, right? More progress. And then they'll heal the third one. And then now what is it? And I'll go, now at that point, they might be a 0, or they might be a 2. And if they're at a 2, they say, okay, one more. And we do the last one. And they'll go, wow, I feel no attraction to this guy or woman at all anymore. And when you get to 0, you notice something else. Not only do you no longer feel any attraction to this person, you now feel a bit of a repulsion.
Okay.
A bit of a
neutralized.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. When you feel a bit of a yuck feeling, you know that you've completely broken free of the pattern, and you will never be attracted to somebody like that again. So you won't have to look out for red flags or anything like that. You just won't be attracted to people like that. Somebody like that will come up to you and try and chat you up or talk to you, and you go like, no. There's something about you that is a turnoff. I don't know what it is. So you're picking up on the subtle cues to turn you off instead of turn you on. And this is what it takes to really break free. I had this one person, I have this free mini course that talks all about this. And I had this one woman call me up, or contacted me. We had a phone discovery session. We're talking about working together. And she goes, Stefan, I read your mini course a year ago. And it made total sense to me about this negative attraction pattern thing. So this is how my love life has been for the last year. I would meet a new guy that I'd get really excited about. We'd go out on a date. During that date, I would notice that he had the negative trait of my parent. So I wouldn't see him again. After one date, I'd go, nope, that's it. I don't want to have another date with you. Some time would go by. I'd meet another guy that I was really interested in, very attracted to. We'd go out on one date, and I'd realize that, he's another one of those. Cut it off after one date. She goes, my whole year has been like that. I've never gone past one date because every single guy I've dated has had that negative trait. So I was hoping that just understanding this would be enough. And that I just have to be on the lookout, but that's all I've been doing is just not dating, basically. So I've kept myself safe from being with those wrong guys, but I haven't been able to be with the right guy. So it's like, all right, I need to talk to you about healing this stuff. So then we did.
I don't think this is an interview. This is a relationship workshop itself. Like, that was amazing insights. Like, this is the first time ever I got to know about the repetitive pattern anatomy, such a deep level. Stephen, thank you very much. It is like, wow, everything that you are sharing. And
actually, I just forgot. I never came back to people in a relationship fully. I did mention them, but I just want to say one more thing for people who are currently in a relationship.
Yes, that was my next question.
Oh, okay, great. We're right in sync.
So it could be in current relationship or married. Doesn't matter. If they are committed, they are in a relationship. What's your advice for them? Yeah.
What do you do? Yes.
Yes.
All right. So here's the thing. The thing to do is to do the same thing you would do if you're a single person. Heal those, representative memories of your parents' negative trait. Okay. What's going to happen when you do that is that it's going to really lower the tension and pain in your relationship or marriage, because you're going to stop being so reactive. You're going to stop being so sensitive and so reactive. Okay. And you're going to stop behaving in ways that's pushing your partner into behaving more like that negative trait. Okay. So that's going to help. In the worst case, you'll no longer want to be with that partner. If the main basis of your relationship was that negative attraction pattern, and there's not a lot of other good things in it, then in that case, you'll probably end up ending the relationship, which will then free you up to be with a wonderful partner who doesn't have that negative trait. So ultimately being your benefit, but sadly, you may have to end the relationship. If your relationship has a lot of good things to it besides that negative trait, and you do this healing, then that's just going to make your relationship way better, because you're going to stop getting so triggered by that behavior, and they're going to do it less because you're not going to push them into doing it. So in cases like that, it's going to make the relationship or marriage a lot better.
Wow. Okay. That's nice. Thank you very much because even the already committed people shouldn't be left out. Hey, Stefan, what about us? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Stefan, you are offering a free mini course on your website, right? In a while, friends, by the way, the Stefan's website name is singletosoulmate.me. So you can find this. Could you please tell about free mini course that you are offering on your website?
Sure. So I have a free mini course called The 3 Secrets to Attracting Amazing Love. So if you go to the homepage of my website, you'll see 2 different places on the homepage where you could sign up for this free mini course. And I call it The 3 Secrets to Attracting Amazing Love, because it turns out this block we've been talking about is actually one of 3 key blocks that prevent or interfere with somebody being with their soulmate or ideal partner. So in the mini course, I'll be again talking about this first block that we spent all this time about, but I'll also be talking about the second and third blocks and what you can do to clear those as well.
Wow.
Because when you clear this first block, it's a huge help, but then you run into the other 2. And they can also be stopping you from being with your ideal partner or your soulmate. So you'll learn all about that in the free mini course.
That's amazing. And could you please explain about your Single to Soulmate Breakthrough Program?
Sure. So if somebody wants to work with me to get help with their love life, to clear their love block so they can be finally with their soulmate, and not just be with them. The healing work that I do doesn't just clear the blocks to being with your soulmate or ideal partner. It also clears some of the negative relational patterns that we tend to bring to our relationships that can sabotage a relationship. It would be horrible to finally meet your soulmate and then sabotage a relationship and it doesn't work out. So I help people with that too. There's two ways to work with me though. One is to work with me one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
So they contact me, say, I'd like to work with you, we'll talk about it. And then if it seems like a good fit, we'll start doing sessions together. So that's one option. The other option is my Single to Soulmate Breakthrough Program product. And what this is a pre-recorded program that helps people release all three kinds of blocks that I talk about in the mini course. So the mini course, in a sense, is the conceptual foundation of all the work I do with people, whether it's one-on-one or in this program. So if you read that, you'll understand how everything works. And then the Single to Soulmate Breakthrough Program has over 30 transformational EFT tapping sessions that you tap along to that cover all these different kinds of blocks.
Wow. That's quite
So
extensive.
yeah, so there's these two options. That this program is a lot less expensive than working one-on-one. It's much cheaper than working one-on-one, I should say. And so I like having that as available to people for those who can't afford to do one-on-one work. Because one-on-one work, of course, is going to be the most effective and fastest and whatever. But this other one, you can get so much healed and accomplished. So it's a great resource for people. And then I also have two other programs that are sort of supplementary to the breakthrough program, or to working one-on-one, actually, something they can get and do in parallel while working together. And the second one is called the Self-Love to Soulmate program.
Mm-hmm.
And what that's about is that one of the biggest things that prevents us from being with our ideal partner is a lack of self-love. Like if we don't feel worthy of a great partner, we're not going to be able to be with a great partner, right? If we meet somebody great and we don't feel worthy of somebody that good, then we're going to act very insecure around that person, and it's going to feel like, one up, one down, and that's not very attractive, right? We want to be with people that where both people feel pretty equal to each other. So there's two ways to help feelings of self-love, self-worth, and things like that. One way is to heal the wounds that damaged our self-worth and made us feel bad about ourselves. So I do that one-on-one, and in the program, you do that as well. The other way to help, though, is to do processes that directly build up our feelings of self-love and self-worth. So that's what that product is about. It's a set of different processes that you can use to help feel better about yourself, to feel more worthy, feel good enough, things like that, right? And that you can use over and over and over again. Now, it tends to work the best if you're also doing the healing work, because those wounds that hurt our self-love makes it harder to build ourselves up, right? So ideally you do both, but it can still be very helpful just as it is. But I originally created it to supplement the breakthrough program. The breakthrough program has one process to help build up self-love, and this one's got multiple. So it just helps to do that. And then the last program I have, as this one's a small, very specific purpose. I call it Fearless Dating. And it's designed solely to help release our fear of rejection.
Okay.
So I found that no matter how much healing we do, even if we feel way better about ourselves, when we're out in the dating world, whether or not you want to go up and talk to somebody who seems interesting, or some interesting person starts talking to us, and you're like, ooh, look at this person coming to talk to me. We very frequently get triggered into our fear of rejection. It's like, ooh, I really like her or him, but what if he or she doesn't like me, right? So there's this fear of rejection. After I did a ton of healing on myself, when I would go out dating, I still found myself face to face with this fear of rejection thing. And it would make me get stiff and uncomfortable, stuff like that. And then I had this epiphany about the nature of rejection. That's like, oh, this changes the whole picture. And I found a way to actually recognize that there is no such thing as rejection. No matter how much it seems like somebody is rejecting me, there actually is no such thing as rejection. So there's this conceptual piece to help people understand this rather than just saying it. If I just say it, people can go, well, wait a minute. Of course there's rejection. I just got rejected last weekend. I felt very rejected, right? So there's this, so that product, Fearless Dating, just has 2 modules. This conceptual one where I explain why there's no fear, there's actually no such thing as rejection. And then a tapping process to help that actually sink in. And so we can feel that in our body rather than just intellectually go, oh yeah, Stefan, that makes sense. Okay, my mind agrees with you now. I get your point. I now agree, but my heart still feels rejected, right? So so the tapping is to help bring your heart into alignment with your mental understanding, so you can just feel so much more relaxed and at ease when you're out dating. And it really helped me a lot. You know, I was using dating sites and meeting all these people, and I stopped feeling nervous going on these days. I just felt much more relaxed and just kind of comfortable within my own skin. So it was wonderful. So I thought, all right, I'm going to share this with everybody. It is so helpful. And that's it.
Ah, so thank you very much, Stefan. Like, the way you have explained and your journey and these courses that evolved out of, and the understanding, the way you simplified how we pick up traits, and then how we ourselves are the reason in the relationship. And when you explained with the example about that girl and this guy who has a project in the weekend, and it was it was very visualistic, as if it is happening in front of our eyes. And I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this, friends, this is not an interview. Again, let me tell you, this was like a training program. Wonderful insights about it. And definitely whoever is planning to improve their relationships, first start with the free mini course that is available, and then later on there is option to work with Stefan one-on-one. And also there are 3 different programs: single to soulmate breakthrough program, self-love to soulmate program, and peerless dating. Thank you once again, Stefan. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much for all this wonderful sharings.
Well, thank you so much for having me, because I am very passionate about helping people with their love life, because it was such a huge struggle for me. And it took me so long. It took me decades because I didn't have this kind of support available to me. And, I just hate the idea of people having to, wait so long when there's a way to heal this quickly, right?
Yes.
So I just love having the opportunity to talk about this. And if you don't mind, can I mention my other website? I
Yes,
actually have
yes,
2
yes,
websites.
yes. Yes. Friends, here are 2 other websites also, like EFT Alive, EFT-alive.com, which I'll be posting on the Facebook also.
So that's my more
Yes,
general EFT website, because I help people with other things as well as their love life. Yeah.
and also about your EFTbusinessmastery.com.
Right. Well,
Please,
that's to
yes,
help other EFT practitioners have a successful business. That's a newer
that's
thing.
yeah.
Right. And then there's my single, the number 2 soulmate.me, M-E. Yeah.
Yes. So these are the 3 websites, friends. And thank you very much once again, Stephanie. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I'm sure people who have relationship issues will definitely find this very valuable.
Yeah. I
Thank
very
you
much hope
very
so.
much.